Hello everybody and welcome to Taunton Town Centre. Now today I'm going to be travelling on Optares with Southwest coaches, mainly on their long distance network but also on some local services around the Oval. However, I'm in Taunton, so what's the easiest way to get the Oval? Take the number 54, which is right behind me. But no, I am not doing that, as there is an Optare on the 96 service. If you don't know where that goes, stick around to find out. However, my first bus in the end was the Hatch Green Coaches Service 99, which is the easiest way if you can make it, of course, because it only runs every 2 hours between Taunton and Charles. It takes just under an hour, roughly the same as the 30, but the 30 takes a longer route, and it is operated by First Bus Somerset, so it's not as good, as very rarely you get electric buses, so you're bound to get some of the old diesel buses, which are decent. They're not meant for long distance services anymore. They're absolutely knackered. So in the end I settled for the Hatch Green Coaches 99, as they took it over in April, and since then they have ordered and delivered a ADL in 4200 MMC for that specific route. It hasn't been on any other Hatch Green Coaches route. Every now and again they'll take it out of service in favour for an Optare Solo SR. However, on the day I was filming, they still had the ADL in 4200 MMC on the 99. So let's take this all the way through the countryside to Chard. Here I am leaving Taunton, passing over the M5 motorway. Just like the Somerset Council number 3 town service, the 99 also serves the Chestnut Drive and Dowslands area of Taunton. However, the number 3 terminates there and heads back in towards Taunton and Bishop's Hull, whereas the 99 serves Victory College, goes straight past Chestnut Drive and then heads out into the countryside towards Staple Fitzpaine. Here I am arriving into Staple Fitzpaine. At pretty much every stopping point along the route, we were early, so we had to wait at a lot of locations along the way. Here I am arriving at the main stopping point in Chard. This is what you would call the bus station, located next to Home Bargains on Bowden Street. Apart from the number 30 in the Axminster direction only, all of the buses stop here that aren't college buses. The 624 Hatch Green Coaches College bus towards Bridgewater College does stop opposite the Guildhall at an unmarked bus stop. But since that's the only service to stop there, and it only runs on college days for college people, I guess you wouldn't really call that a main bus stop. Speaking of the number 30, here it is heading back from Axminster, heading towards Taunton. This is First Bus Somerset 33712, which has been with various operators in the southwest, and I believe it was with Manchester before transferring to Somerset. I'm not too sure on that one. Anyway, just as that number 30 was ready to depart, my 96 arrived in from Yeovil bang on time at 12:26, and this was a Southwest Coaches Optare Metro City. I've been trying to get on this for ages as it sounds pretty good. It didn't sound as good as how I remembered it, but it was still an amazing vehicle. After waiting an hour in charge, that's how long you have to wait if you decide to travel into rural parts of Somerset where buses aren't very good at all. Here I am now leaving on the 12:45 96 Southwest Coaches service towards Yeovil. From here I decided to gamble a little bit and take this as far as Crewkerne railway station, which is in Misterton, not Crewkerne. After passing through and stopping over in Drimpton, I think that's what it's called, it doesn't appear very well on bustimes.org, here I am passing through and arriving in Crewkerne Town Centre, whilst also passing the first bus, Dorset CR6, heading towards Beaminster and eventually arriving into Bridport quite a few hours later. The CR6 is Crewkerne's only other main bus service. I'm not too sure if I think it's the CB3 or the SB3, I can't quite remember. It's run by Beaminster Council, but it only runs on Saturdays, and I'm not too sure if it even runs anymore. If it does, I wouldn't mind getting a small ride on that bus service, albeit I think they use a minibus now, whereas before they used an Optare Solo. Apart from the SB3, the CR6 and the 96 are the only town's main services, so you can understand why a lot of people choose to drive or take the train here. Both bus services aren't exactly the best, especially the CR6. Anyway, here I am stopping over in Crewkerne Town Centre at one of the main locations. Here I am leaving Crewkerne Town Centre, and as we pass the old marketplace and the memorial in the town centre, you can see just how great this small market town is. Here I am arriving into Crewkerne railway station, which is actually closer to the village of Misterton than Crewkerne. Therefore, if you don't have a car, your only option is to either take a very costly taxi or to take the bus, which aren't exactly great, as you've only got the 96 or the CR6. Weirdly, however, the 96 heading towards Yeovil stops at the same stop as the CR6 heading out of Yeovil towards Beaminster and Bridport. This is because the 96 serves Hazelbury Cluttonett, whereas the CR6 doesn't and takes a more direct route towards Yeovil. On the other side of the road is the bus stop for the 96 heading towards Charge and the CR6 heading towards Yeovil. It can be very confusing, especially if you don't know the service patterns in this area. Now, this is where the gamble came into play. I had quite a while until my train heading towards Sherborne, where I would alight, and then the train would continue on towards Salisbury, Andover, Basingstoke, and eventually London Waterloo. However, as I should arrive into Sherborne, the South West Coaches CR5 should depart Sherborne railway station. They have timed it so the train is due in at exactly the same time as the bus. However, the bus connection isn't guaranteed, said South West Coaches. I messaged them to see if they could hold the bus for a bit, as due to a speed restriction, some trains were getting delayed. They say a speed restriction, but most of them are getting delayed at Pinhoe for some reason, so I should imagine that's due to the train heading into Exeter being late. Anyway, here I am getting on the train at Crewkerne to head towards Sherborne, and now it is time to see if I would make the CR5 or if the train would arrive in just a few moments too late. Here I am leaving Crewkerne on this South Western Railway Class 159, formed of two Class 159 sets to make a 6-coach train. This train was heading towards London Waterloo via Salisbury and Basingstoke, and like I said earlier, I'll be taking it as far as Sherborne. Unfortunately, I was sat on the wrong side of the train, and all you can see is a scrapyard. But trust me, the station building on the other side of the train is absolutely superb. After passing through Yeovil Junction, home to the Yeovil Railway Centre, I finally arrived into Sherborne.
The next station is Sherborne.
After arriving into Sherborne, running through the station ticket office like a madman and watching my train leave me, it was time to see if I'd made the CR5 or if I would have to walk to Greenhill, which is where most of the other buses stop, to get a first bus Somerset service. And well, I kind of knew this was going to happen. Just like every single other day for the past week or two, this particular CR5 journey has been delayed, and today was no exception. It arrived about 20 minutes late. Thank God this bus was late, otherwise I would have had to wait 50 minutes in Sherborne, although I would have had to walk to Greenhill, so it wouldn't have been that bad. Anyway, this was an Optare Solo with what I call the weaker engine. Often you find this engine on Optares that go on village routes, such as the Hatch Green Coaches routes. However, it was a decent Optare Solo. The engine sounded decent, however the bus itself was in very poor nick, and I think they must use it as a training bus at times, as it had a weird seat thing. I'm not too sure what you call it. This CR5 service originated in Dorchester and was scheduled to depart at 1:30. It actually left quite a bit later. Here I am passing by Yeovil Pen Mill station. If you missed the Somerset Council 68 bus service, which is a town service serving Yeovil Pen Mill, Yeovil Bus Station and Yeovil Junction Station, as well as the local villages of Stowford and Barwick, your only option is to head up here to the main road outside the Pen Mill Hotel and the railway station to get on the 58 CR4 or CR5 services. Here I am arriving into Yeovil bus station on the CR5 service. Now, I really needed the loo at this point, and I'd seen on Facebook and various other pages, I'd seen pictures of a temporary waiting room and toilets since they're currently demolishing the Glover's Walk shopping centre where the old toilets, which had closed, and the old waiting room were. However, I couldn't find these temporary toilets or the temporary waiting room. So in the end, I had to hang on some more. And honestly, what I do for you guys is just amazing. I didn't get home till 9:15 that night, which meant I went, hang on a minute, let me do some maths. I went 13 hours without going to the loo. Honestly, we just need more toilets at these places. And honestly, the buses didn't really help with this. In Taunton, I didn't have enough time to go to the loo. In Chard, there are no toilets. Home Bargains doesn't have a toilet. I'm not aware of any other shops in Chard that have toilets. Yeovil bus station was kind of my fault. I couldn't find them. And after Yeovil, I headed off to Evercreech to meet my parents. And that's why I didn't get home till 9:15 that night. So it wasn't the best thing. But overall, Somerset Council are closing down loads and loads of toilets. And just why? Why, honestly? Bridgewater bus station hasn't had a toilet for years. You need to go into Ulster for those. In Wells bus station, the toilets are very bad. It's the same situation in Weston-super-Mare at the interchange, where you have to go to Tesco or the railway station for toilets. Honestly, we're just relying on other people for toilets when the bus stations and terminals should have their own. It's such a bad situation. Basically, Somerset Council's gone bankrupt, and they don't even have money for their own toilets, let alone cut the grass. They don't even have enough money for a lawnmower. Anyway, here I am on the number 1 service, not heading to Evercreech. I wanted to ride on some more Optares first, so I only took this as far as Yeovil Tesco, literally a 2-minute ride away. However, this Optare Versa sounded amazing. Here is the South West Coaches Optare Versa leaving Yeovil Tesco on the 1 service towards Shepton Mallet. Here I am now at Yeovil Tesco, and some of you will say, well surely you could have gone to the toilet here. Well no, I only had an 8-minute connection and I had to walk between 2 Tesco stops. But even though I was in dire pain right now, I would say it was worth it, as my next bus was South West Coaches 166, an amazing Optare Solo SR with an amazing Cummins engine, just like the last Optare Versa that we went on. This was on the 50 and 53 alternating driver thing today. I'm not too sure what you call it, I can't remember. And I took it on the 50 service out to Westland's entertainment venue and Westbourne Grove. This is a pretty decent route, and we actually had some people on this service, whereas when I went on the 53 not that long ago, it was only a couple weeks after it was first launched, nobody was actually riding on it, so maybe the 50 will be a success. I still can't see it though. Here I am passing through Westbourne Grove. Unfortunately, none of the new South West Coaches routes, nor none of the new First Bus Somerset routes that have been chopped and changed and will be starting service on the 1st of September, unless there's a bank holiday of course, I'm not too sure. In September, the 51 Yeovil Town service, operated by First Bus Somerset, is being split into the 51 and 61. And unfortunately, the 51 still isn't serving Preston Grove. So unfortunately, now the number 11 has been permanently cut. No buses serve Preston Grove and the local medical centre there. I think that's why people are kicking off about it. Anyway, if you live at Preston Grove, you get no bus service. The 50 doesn't serve there, the 53 definitely doesn't serve there, and neither does the 51 or 61. Here I am passing through the borough located right in the heart of Yeovil Town Centre. Now a lot of people say that Yeovil is a dead town, all of the shops are closed down, lots of risky people like smokers and drug dealers hanging about, and all that kind of rubbish. However, whilst I somewhat agree with that statement to do with the closed down shops and some of Yeovil's back streets leading off of the town centre itself mainly focused around the Borough bus stop as well as the Queen Shopping Centre, is doing very well. There's lots of shops and, well, it's not exactly a closed down high street, is it? There's lots and lots of great shops, lots and lots of shops which people actually come to Yeovil to visit. However, the Queen Shopping Centre has seen better days, I will admit that. Here I am arriving back into Yeovil bus station. Now, a lot of bus stations in Somerset are crap. However, Yeovil bus station is actually pretty good, along with Wells bus station and definitely Weston-super-Mare interchange. That is like the crown jewel of bus stations in Somerset at the moment. I don't know if you'd call it Somerset or not, since it's over the border in North Somerset. However, the same could probably be said of Wells bus station, since that's very close to the border with North Somerset. However, with them building the new Taunton Transport Hub, which is basically a new bus station in Taunton, it does make me wonder, will this pass Weston interchange, or will Weston-super-Mare interchange near the Tesco store in Weston still remain the crown jewel of Somerset bus stations?
Oh no. Let me play that. I think I will.
Thank you.
That's fine.
Here I am back at Yeovil bus station. After wasting a little bit of time on the current first bus Somerset 51 out towards Abbey Manor, since I had over an hour to kill, my next bus moved over from the layover points into the main bus stops at Yeovil bus station. This is another Optare Solo, this time with the much more powerful Cummins engine rather than the smaller, I think it's a Mercedes engine on the other Optare Solo that we went on, and this was also on the number 1 service. I had to meet my parents at Evercreech for some reason, so I took this, well, you guessed it, out to Evercreech via Sparkford. This is an amazing route and allows for lots of thrash and kickdown, so enjoy this ride on this amazing Optare Solo. It sounded pretty good. Here I am passing through Sparkford after passing through a load of other small villages such as Mudford and Queen Camel. Well, you wouldn't know it looking at this hedge, however behind this hedge is the main A303 artery road between the southwest and London, which runs via Amesbury and Andover. Here I am passing the other number 1 bus that we went on earlier, that is the Optare bus that I took between Yeovil bus station and Yeovil Tesco near Castle Carey. Here I am passing by Castle Carey railway station. Now I thought all of the buses that served Castle Carey station was supposed to pull into the car park and the new bus stop that was built a few months ago. It might have been a few years ago by now. It doesn't feel like that much though. However, the number 1 bus just went straight by on the main road. I'm not sure if this is because nobody was waiting at Castle Carey station, or if this is because the number 1 service still stops on the main road. As far as I'm aware, the 667 definitely serves the new bus stop at Castle Carey. Here I am arriving into Everpreach. Now like I said earlier, I had to alight here. However, the bus was supposed to continue to Shepton Mallet. Although saying that, if you look on bus times, it terminated just after Everpreach, since I was the very last person on the bus, and well, I got off in Everpreach. So if the last person has gotten off in Everpreach, there's no need to go to Shepton Mallet, is there? Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!